Well, welcome. I'm Marvin Turner, W0MET, the president of the Stones River Amateur Radio Club. And I welcome each and every one of you this evening. We've got a nice group joining us for our special presentation with Rally Hollingsworth. Just some club business we're going to get through first, and we'll take care of. We, just had our field day this past weekend, had a good turnout for that. Got some more stuff planned for this coming year. We'll be hopefully in May starting to prepare for our summer field day. So we got a lot of good things going on. Another fox hunt or two. So stay tuned and keep apprised of those things going on. And we'll try to keep you updated via emails and all of our social media sites. So keep following us on those sites, and we'll go from there.
I guess I'm not letting them.
The secretary report was sent out for all to view. I want to know if anybody needs notes on that, or we need to go through that any, or if we can make a motion to accept it as they were sent out. Anybody want to make a motion or a second?
Move to approve as submitted.
Okay, we have a motion from Joe Gurley to approve the meeting minutes as submitted, and a second.
I'll second it, Carl.
Second. Okay, Carl, thank you for the second on that. Go ahead and unmute yourselves for a second. I'll give you a moment to do that. And then was all in favor of the meeting minutes as submitted, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. Still got eyes coming. Good. Let me get a few more in here. We got about 4 more coming in. So wow, we have a really big group tonight. Financial report. Glenn, I'm sorry. Yeah, Carl, you want to go through that for a moment?
Sure. Do you have it that you can put on the screen?
Unfortunately, because I changed computers, I don't. But if you have it handy, you can screen share it quick. You have the ability.
Yep. Do something else real quick.
So we've had, we're talking about this a little bit in new business, but with our financial reports, before Carl gets it up, we've had a lot of good returns this month on the number of people that have joined, paid their dues online. So we've got a really good looking budget so far. It's been pretty impressive, and things are looking good there. We had a little bit of expense from field day, and we'll come up in a minute here, but it wasn't too terrible overall. So continue to pay your dues. A lot of new people are taking tests and are becoming amateur radio operators, so that's good to see as well. There's a big movement for that right now across the nation, actually. So things are good in our favor there. Field day briefing. I sent a little thank you out for everybody that made a big contribution to the event. I would say it was one of our more successful events that we've had. It was a great day overall. The weather held out for us. It didn't rain at noon or 1 like it's supposed to. It came about 7:30 that night. We had to ask for all hands on deck to help break down the tent and a few antennas, but we got it done. And we had 357 total contacts that was made. And we had a great time there. So I totaled up all the points the other night. It looks like we're about 1,500 points for having a field event. It was another 1,500 points for, I think it was no commercial power. And then we had our 1,071 points for our contacts we made there. I don't have the names right in front of me. Yes, I do. It is, if I can find them. I thought there we go. Andrew, KN4VKX, and his brother Blake, KN4VKY. They're the Pearson family from Williamson County. They came over and they made a huge contribution to our field day event, making contacts. Those two kids, 10, 12 years old, absolutely just rocked it and did a phenomenal job. You want to see kids in action that just love it and want to go after it. They did a great job overall. So they really helped us make a lot of contacts, and people love kids on the air. anyway. So it was great for us in that regard. So thank you, the Pearson family, for coming over, their father, Andrew, for bringing them and helping us out with setup and some tear down as well. So anyway, we had a great field day event and looking forward to making summer even better. You know, we had our computers were talking to each other, able to create one electronic log, worked out really well. So thank you for all that contributed to that as well. The Bob Heil Zoom meeting continues to get good reviews on YouTube from last month. And so if you want to see that, that is still out there. And we are still getting people viewing that and watching that. So we've had some good response on that as well. For new business, just check your spam folders. It's been my understanding we've had quite a few people recently have been finding some of our club emails in their spam folder or junk box. And so we hope that you're checking that or you can find that. And so that way you can get our up-to-date information that's going across the email or out on our social media sites via the email. So please check that and keep up to date on that. We're looking to host a technician class. I'm going to start working on the details again after this meeting. I can only get so much stuff done at once with field day and then all of a sudden the meeting. And so we've got some great instructors, I think, set up for that already. And we've got a potential place for this to be the Patterson Park Community Center. And we have talked to them about it and submitted an application. And they came back and said their normal price was $20 an hour to have it there. We'd look at four-week sessions through the month of March, but they would cut that price in half to $10 an hour. So that would come back for a club cost of about $160 for that, for us to be able to have that as a classroom setting for about 15 people maximum. And so kind of wanting some discussion around that, whether we want to approve that type of expense for $160 to host a class. Maybe we could charge the members $10 to come back to the class and recoup some of that potentially. We've got all the training materials for the class already. So what are people's thoughts on us having to pay for a facility to host that training to get new amateurs?
I think it's a good thing myself.
It's a great outreach for the club for sure.
Really, it is, because this way you're putting it out in the public eye at a public venue place.
Right.
And that way, those who maybe be walking by in there, they're going to wonder what we're doing, even though it's on a Saturday. Saturdays are always busy at Patterson Park.
Are they? Okay. Not for me. I know where it's at, but I don't know where. I've never been there.
I've had CLs there, and it's very nice, very comfortable. Good classroom setting.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hey, Marvin.
Discussion? Yes.
This is Mark. I was played a bit of a role in reaching out to Patterson Park.
You did,
and
yes.
did it thinking that we would be able to get the facility for free, and was really surprised when, after I started digging into it and found out that there was going to be a charge for it, and very, very appreciative that they give us a cut rate for it. But I would hope with the vastness of the organization that somebody would have some contact somewhere and maybe able to get us a location that we didn't have to spend $160 just to be able to have a class and a meeting, and that money could go to better things. Obviously, we're at a point where we can spend that money, but I would like to see it. Hate knowing it was going for rent for a facility to have a class, and hoping somebody's got something that they could help provide a location. And that's it.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I'd hope so. Joe, is there anything from the county level that we could do?
That's better.
I'm not sure. There's a couple of different places that I could explore. A lot of those places are being limited due to COVID right now. give me the time and when we want to start again, and I'll do some checking here in the coming week.
Can I email you later? Can I email you the information?
Yeah, just send me the info.
Okay. We may put this out into a club vote then and ask about this a little bit further. I don't know if we'll get through a discussion on this tonight exactly, but the classes are supposed to start in March, so we've got to figure out something. But if we don't have, you know, all the details on that, if we can have another option out there, that'd be great. So, perfect.
Yeah, I'd say the county things, and we can check and see what the town center might do also in Smyrna.
Okay, let's see what that looks like. I appreciate that. The club does have patches, stickers, and magnets. Trying to get them up onto the website soon. That will be available for small fees. We're looking at maybe some potential shirts of some sort. Would people be interested in like a t-shirt or a polo shirt of some sort if we got them going? Any discussion around that or thoughts?
I think it would be good. That way, when we're out in public, people could see this. And that way they have if they have a question, they could come up to us and ask us about it. Especially if we're at a fair of some sort, like a health fair, or at a health fair with it.
Or even just just a general grocery store, you know, what is that?
Yeah.
You know?
That would be good.
Okay, well, we're continuing to explore those options and look at those things. So that is kind of what we're looking at, where things are going. Because I didn't get my main computer up and running tonight, and I'm running off my laptop instead. I have in front of me all the members that have paid since November, or I should say October 30th, and they're all numbered 1 through 59. So I've got a random number generator I've created on the computer here from 1 through 60 to make sure I include that 59 number. And so I'm going to run that through. We're going to do the drawing for the Anytone 878 radio. And I appreciate all those who signed up with a chance, the opportunity to grab that. That's a donation made by me on behalf of the club to, help increase membership a little bit, as well as, just continue to, have some good publicity out there. So I've got it set up here on random number generator. We'll spin the old calculator. Number 13. It is Michael Ducal. You on the call?
Yeah, I sure am.
All right.
If you actually mean Michael Duval with a V, yeah, that's wow.
Oh,
awesome.
I bet it is. I'm sorry. Yes, it
That's
is
quite all right.
KO4 EHB. So
That's it.
you're the
Excellent.
winner of the Anytone 878 radio. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yes, I was looking at that right, so I'm glad. So, all right. So congratulations on that. We'll find the time to get together, and I think you're on Slack, correct?
No.
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 All right. I will email you then.
Okay.
And I'll get that set up to give that to you. Okay.
Sounds great. Awesome.
All right. Thank you. Congratulations to Michael Duval on the being the winner of the Anytone radio. So, any additional new business before we get into Riley Hollingsworth? All right. Well, nothing else. I'm sure that's why 38 of you are on here tonight to listen to him and not me so much. So we can get started with him and get him going. I did see someone pop up just real quick. Someone talked about they have somebody that does shirts and hats. Can you reach out to me via the via email or my cell phone if you have that, and we'll touch base on that one? That'd be awesome. So, all right. Riley, you're ready to go?
I'm ready.
All right, making you the spotlight for everybody. And good evening, folks. This is Riley Hollingsworth, and he will be giving our presentation for this evening. And if you guys go ahead and mute your mics, that'd be greatly appreciated.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate your inviting me to talk to you about the volunteer model program.
Hold on, let me get everybody muted here. Hold on. Hold on, the wire, people. Let's see if I can mute all here. There we go. All right, Riley, you're gonna have to unmute yourself. I think.
Okay, how about now?
Now you're good. All right, let's start that.
Okay, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you. This is timely because we're into the 1-year period of running the volunteer monitor program. We cranked up last February for sure. We spent the summer previous to that interviewing volunteer monitors, looking at the applications and so forth. We started some monitoring on a testing basis and training basis in January of last year. But in February, we started the full rollout. I won't go into the background because you can get that from the League's website by searching up in the top right-hand corner, Volunteer Monitor Program. And that'll give you the general background. Most of you probably already know it, but essentially the Official Observer Program was 50 years old, and the FCC suggested something stronger in a meeting that we had with them in 2017. And so we gradually worked out an agreement for that. And they made some promises and commitments, and we did the same. And we started out fairly modestly because we didn't want to be perceived as the band cops or the band police. Now we've gotten beyond that now. Last year, we sent about 15 advisory notices, but we're cranking up things now. And because it's time to get going, we have shown that we're not the band police, that we're trying to do the real enforcement on amateur radio. So January, we sent out 10 advisory notices just in January alone, and we're starting to clamp down since we're into to 1 full year. Let's see, the program, the basic problems we seem to have are on 3860 and 7200. And those frequencies, and I think you have some specific problems down in Tennessee related to both frequencies, are an embarrassment to the service, and we're focusing on that. And the 10 notices that we sent out, some of them related to 3860, 3 were for interference. 1 notice was for signal that was too wide. 3 were for out of band, and this is where a technician is in a general class area or a general is in an extra class area. And 3 were for failure to ID or for talking to stations who didn't identify. For January, the total hours of monitoring that the VMs are reporting are coming in now. They'll be trickling in all through this month. But so far for January, it looks like we had 1,432 hours of monitoring on the HF frequencies and 1,484 hours monitoring on the VHF and other frequencies. That'll probably get up closer to 2,000, 1,800 to 2,000 as the reports come in. But it takes a little while for everybody to get the report in. Some people run late, but if they get the report in within 30 days of the end of the month, that's okay. That's okay for us. As I said, the FCC wanted and suggested something stronger because a lot of their field offices had closed and half of their engineers, the slots had been cut. A lot of really good engineers left the FCC, but a lot of good engineers stayed as well. So they wanted some kind of force multiplier to help enforcement, and they especially wanted it in certain areas of the country where they felt their coverage from what field offices they had left were a little bit weak. And as it turned out, just from our random application solicitation process, we were able to cover those areas. So that's worked out fine. Now, as I said, we're going to clamp down this year. I fully expect to be filing some requests to have HF privileges removed from certain licenses. And we expect to challenge some renewals that are due this year. And if a renewal is challenged, you have to come to Washington, D.C. to defend it. You can't do it from home. You can't do it from your local court or whatever. Now with COVID, there'll be some little bit of a change in that, but they won't get around the requirement to come to DC to defend it. A lot of operators are taking too much for granted. As you know, if you've listened to these 2 frequencies, we don't have frequency rights. We have frequency privileges, and they can be lost. And we can't let amateur radio aggravate itself to death and get back to where it was 10 or 12 years ago or more. We can't let amateur radio cause itself to become extinct or obsolete. And as we all know, things can change right out from under us, especially in a technical area, anything related to technology. Our goal is to not let that happen. The good news about our service is that it's a cross-section of society. The bad news about our service is that it's a cross-section of today's society. So far too often it's rude and selfish, boisterous. Somebody won't give 1 kilohertz to let a net operate that's been operating for 30 something years. And there's just too much lunacy, and stopping a lot of that, we can't do. A lot of that is your job. We can't babysit the frequencies, and we can't ask the FCC to do that either. A lot of what you hear on the frequencies is not illegal. It's stupid and it's selfish, but it's not illegal. We go after the violations of the rules, and in most cases where you have someone that's really making an ass of themselves, which they have a constitutional right to do in this country, but usually related to that, there are some rule violations in there if you listen long enough, and that's what we approach. A lot of these people that you hear on those 2 frequencies presumably took tests, and they're supposed to know how to operate this stuff without babysitting by the commission or by the volunteer monitor program. And you would think that the biggest problem might be the no code text, but it isn't. I never noticed any difference in enforcement and enforcement problems when the code requirement was eliminated. Most of our problems, 90% of our problems, are from extra class who are long-time licensees and who should know better. But they've been on the same frequency for 10 years, talking across the state with 1,200 watts, and they don't like new ideas or new people, and they think they own the place. And you will hear them really complain about the no coders, when in reality they probably haven't worked a CW contact in 15 years. It's just a sign of the times, and hopefully this pendulum will change. But society is, as I said, is rude and selfish, and you see and hear people arguing over a parking spot when there's 150 vacant spaces available. It's just a sign of our times. So this year there will probably be some fireworks, because we are clamping down, and we use some very patient diplomacy, and it worked largely on all our problems except for the 2 areas that I mentioned. So the cajoling and the patient diplomacy is over for those areas. And I know you've had some interesting enforcement issues in Tennessee. The valuable case that we think was the McGridgeon case, where there was a problem on a repeater, and one of the repeater users went to local court and got a restraining order, and the subject of the restraining order, and you can't make this stuff up, went home and violated it within an hour of the judge's ruling. So he was brought back in and sentenced to 30 days, took it through the court system to the Tennessee Court of Appeals, thinking that the Tennessee Court of Appeals would rule that since it's a federal matter, only the FCC has jurisdiction over radio frequencies. That's not the way the court came down. The court pointed out that it didn't matter whether it was FCC or any other agency. The fact is, the person violated a restraining order issued by the judge. That was the violation. So he sentenced him to 30 days in jail. And 30 days in jail is a remarkable attitude adjustment process. And so in cases where we have repeater issues in states that have harassment by communication statutes, that's going to be one of our approaches. And a lot of states have those or are drafting those statutes now. Otherwise, it's totally up to the repeater group to solve the problem, because there are just too many repeaters for us to look after those, or for the FCC. And the repeater licensee is responsible for the proper operation of the repeater, just as you are of your base station at home. So in the first instance, they have to try to run it down. And usually the repeater group can run it down. They're local, they know the area, know the players, And usually somebody in the club has a pretty good idea of what's going on and who's doing it. And so we will work with them and we will help locate it, but we depend really on them to do the most of the location first because of the huge number of repeaters. But once that happens, then we have several enforcement alternatives. The main one, as I mentioned, was the local courts, actually, which a lot of people haven't used that in the past, but the times that it's been used lately, it's very successful. So I won't go into any other details. We have 165 volunteer monitors. We've had almost no turnover. We've had one person passed away due to COVID. A couple of other people are on temporary and just temporarily sidelined because of job or family issues. But we've had no turnover. So we have 160 very active volunteer monitors, and I'm really happy with the number of hours that they've been turning in. And they spent a lot of hours on this when they could be enjoying amateur radio. But we have two force multipliers, so to speak, coming down the pipe. One is Flex Radio has offered to license to us their time difference of arrival system once they get through with their government contract. Time difference of arrival in a network of receivers is a type of direction and location finding that has worked out pretty well. It's not quite as good as the direction finding that you do from a car or from a facility such as Columbia, Maryland, but with a vast network, you can generally locate it to a county. And usually if you can locate it to a county, somebody around there knows who's doing it and what's going on. We have been experimenting a little bit with the network of SDR receivers around the country, and that helps too. But the Flex system is going to be much more sophisticated and will be a great adjunct to the FCC direction finding. So that's where we are now. If you have any specific questions, you can email them to me, my call sign, K4CDH at ARRL.net. And I will answer your email. It may take me a day or two, but I will definitely answer it. And if you want to talk about it on the phone, just put your phone number in there and I'll be glad to call you.
Riley, what does it take to become a volunteer observer to be part of this program?
Well, we opened up applications in July or in May of 2019. And we just opened it up to anybody. There were some requirements that you had to be licensed for so many years. There was no requirement that you have a certain class of license, but you had to have basic equipment. It didn't have to be the latest and greatest state of the art, but basic equipment. So we just went through the applications and talked to every person one by one chronologically. And when we got to around, we were really happy with the application. When we got to around 165 or so, we talked to the FCC and they suggested that we keep it at that because that was sort of was thought to be a manageable number of monitors. So the others, there were a little over 200 applications. We invited all of them to stay in the reserve pool if they wanted to, and they did. And so we don't anticipate opening it up until maybe later this year. Still not sure about that. Like I say, we've been very fortunate to have little or no turnover. But as far as what's required for it, it's nothing special, really. I think the people that applied were the ones that were up on the news and watching the websites and everything. And we had a whole slew of excellent applications. The software design person for SDR is in there. We have numerous broadcast engineers. One of the programmers for Apple is a volunteer monitor. And we have some very, very good volunteer monitors. Some of them in the reserve pool we won't use except for a special occasion where we call on certain people or activate a certain group. But we have a good group, and I had thought there would be a higher turnover, but we've been very fortunate. But they weren't sophisticated requirements, just a basic ability to be computer savvy with Word and Excel, to be able to do computer recordings and send those, and to have a basic and just a very basic antenna system. So we just wanted average, good average amateur operators who cared about the service and we're interested in preserving it. And that's actually what we ended up with. So I'm pretty happy about that.
So do you have observers in all 50 states?
There's one state, I think maybe it's Montana. I don't have it in front of me, where we don't have any, but otherwise in every state we have observers.
Okay. If anybody else has any other questions for Riley, go ahead and unmute and feel free to ask.
Hey, this is Mark. I've got a couple of comments, questions.
Okay.
Hey, Riley, thank you very much for being with us tonight. I know your time's very valuable, and I have seen your name in various publications over the years.
Well, thank you.
The changeover in the program, is this an ARRL sponsored program, or is it FCC?
It's a joint program between the FCC and ARRL. So the league runs it. And as I said, the official observer program had worked great. It just needed some more teeth. And we invited all of the people in the official observer program to join the volunteer monitor program. And I think about half of them did. Only about half of the official observers were ever really active anyway. And some of those were getting pretty discouraged. So the FCC wanted it and suggested it and said that if you will do this, and if you will have regular training and we will participate in the training, then we will give first priority to cases that you send us, and you won't have to go through the complaint filing system and so forth. And so they suggested that we have special coverage in certain areas. And I didn't know how serious they were about that, but I polled the regional directors, regional managers, and right in the very beginning of the process. And all three came back with specific areas that they wanted coverage in. And we were able to meet that. So it's really a joint program. We administer it, the FCC backs it up.
Okay. So two other questions. You mentioned a document that y'all had sent 10 or 15 of them out, I guess, during the month of January, and a handful more during the ramp up period. Is that equivalent to the old time pink sheet? And are they pink in color? And the second part is, when you do have a local issue, is there a published list of your monitors that local organizations can reach out to that monitor and say, hey, we have an issue, and work directly with them, kind of as a tip line per se, I guess?
Okay. First on the pink slip, those pink slips are notorious. They haven't been pink at the FCC for many years, but everybody who ever got one remembers it. It's not that pink slip, but it is the precursor to that. It's our attempt to resolve it informally. And if that doesn't work, then we take the case straight to the FCC. So it's an attempt to resolve it with some diplomatic outreach. And usually if you can talk to somebody one-on-one and reason with them, usually I've found an amateur service that you can accomplish what you want. There's a certain percentage that will never get that message, and the FCC has to step in. As far as a list, we don't publish the list. We use numbers. Every volunteer monitor has a number, and the FCC insisted on that. They insisted on some anonymity. Now, if it goes to court or a deposition, something like that, we, of course, will reveal the name, but prior to that or below that stage, we just give the number. And the volunteer monitors were happy about that too, because one big problem that the official observers were having was the personal abuse. 25 years ago, if you got an official observer notice, you were appreciative of that because you were grateful that it didn't come from the FCC. And of course, nowadays, everybody's got rights and no responsibilities, and they don't even know when you're trying to do them a favor. So in recent years, when they would get an OO notice, it would just be a lot of trouble and harassment for the official observer. So the way around that was just to use numbers. But if you give your complaint or your question to me or through the league, and they're working right now, fact, I think it's been published, the contact number, contact information for the Volunteer Monitor program is in the Volunteer Monitor section of the ARRL News and the website all the time. So if you check that out, they have a number and an email there. And so we'll get it out to one or more volunteer monitors, probably after talking with you first about some details. But we farm it out from here rather than publishing the names. In fact, even the section managers don't know in every case who the volunteer monitors were. The section managers, we figure, had enough to do. They're the ones that run the wheels off the cars, going to all of the amateur events, at least before COVID, and taking all the complaints and so forth. So we wanted to keep them out of it, and we didn't want to add to their burden. So the volunteer monitors work directly with the league and with me through the league.
Riley?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I just want to say my call sign is I'm Joe Gurley. Call sign is WB4BLY, but my interfacing with you was back when I was FCC or APCO frequency coordinator, and we were dealing a lot with directly with the FCC in the 80s and 90s, and for the state of Tennessee. So you can be one tough cookie, and I do want to know what the pink slips look like. But thank you for the conversation tonight.
Yeah, that was fun. All the time I was doing amateur enforcement, I was doing land mobile problems as well, working with the frequency coordinators who had one heck of a job. I don't know how you all kept your sanity, but all of the frequency coordinators are great to work with.
It was a different time. We, worked directly with the Bureau, and it was an interesting time. I really learned a lot, and thank you for addressing our club tonight.
Well, thank you. Anytime. We probably should do this every couple of months for an update, because I hope we can get a lot accomplished here in the next year now that we're rolling.
Riley, do you find most of your violations are on the HF or the VHF, UHF bands?
HF.
HF.
Usually on the HF bands. On the lower bands, now a lot of interference cases we found, and I found this out of the FCC too, I discovered that 80% of the interference cases are unintentional, totally accidental. But that other percentage is usually on the HF bands on the lower frequencies, especially 75 meters. And I'm finishing up my 20-year study of whether radio frequency emissions cause brain damage. And my conclusion is that they do cause brain damage, but only on two frequencies, 3860 and 7200. For some reason, they're always the problem frequencies.
All right. Anybody else have any questions for Riley this evening?
I doubt that'll survive peer review or scientific analysis, but those are certainly my empirical findings. Well, thank you very much. And like I say, we can do this regularly if you want to. And you can best follow the Volunteer Monitor program with the news feed, the ARRL news feed there on the internet. And of course, in QST magazine. But we're setting up this week a system to get more publicity for what the volunteer monitors do. We wanted to make a slow, diplomatic, polite start, but we've done that now. And so now we want more publicity so amateurs can see what's going on and who to complain to and so forth. But overall, we have minimal problems considering the number of licensees and the vast number of frequencies and privileges we have. It's just amazing the compliance overall. Most people really care about it, and they realize that they stand on the shoulders of really great people that gave them this avocation, and they want to pass it along the same way. But you have to have a program like this to keep the percentage of those who don't appreciate it and who try to destroy it down to a minimum, as you know.
Absolutely. So, well, Riley, we really appreciate your time. Thank you for coming out and telling us a little bit more about the program, how it works, and how we can make that filing if need be to
okay.
Get the contact. So.
My call sign is K4ZDH, and my email is that call sign at ARRL.net. as you might expect. And feel free to email anytime.
Okay, well, we appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting.
Absolutely. Let me get you out of the spotlight here and finish up just the last couple minutes here.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any additional new business, anything left into the night? All right, well, hearing nothing else, I will go ahead and conclude this meeting and call it the end of the meeting for February here for the Stones River Amateur Radio Club. Thank you all for joining us. I think we had up to about 40 people at one point. So we've still got 37 hanging in there. So thank you all for joining in. Hope it was interesting. You learned something. And don't forget to find us on our website, SRARCTN.org, or at our social media, Facebook and Twitter. Have a good night. Take care, folks.
Take care.
73s.
Bye all. Hey, Marvin,